would say you're incorrect, not because I think Clark Kent and Batman are real, but it's incorrect because that's not how the story goes based off the text. That's not me defending the comic book. That's just me saying, hey, that's not accurate. So when we talk about the Bible, I'm more so come from the approach of, hey, you said something that's not really accurate according to how what the scholars say about the text,
I was
what the people say is about the text. So that's what I'm coming. It's not even necessarily a defense because I could say this is what it really says, and you could say, oh, well, I still don't believe it, and that's cool.
I was 100%.
But if you're going, well, you in your own brain, you were right.
No,
if you just reject, if you simply reject all of the arguments, and you can't say men are real.
If you're gonna try to say it's fucking metaphor, then it's completely worthless nonsense and it's misleading.
That is a subjective statement.
And if it's not
that's a subjective statement,
then it's just explicitly misleading.
That's a subjective statement.
No, it's not subjective.
That is subjective. You're saying just because it's metaphor, it has no intrinsic value.
When you consider the perspective, especially the perspective of humans on the earth back then, and the way that that's worded, there's automatically, definitely going to be some confusion created about flat or round Earth.
The shape of the world was not an important issue for. It's not even an important issue now.
I didn't say it was.
So what I'm saying?
I did not say it was. Just because it's a non-important issue, doesn't a lie into truth.
It's not a lie. Listen,
bro, you don't think this
lie is important? Big deal? Change the fact that it's a fucking lie.
Listen.
Why would you not care if the government was lying to us? That's a huge deal, bro.
Back then it wasn't important.
That's a huge deal.
Back then it wasn't.
What else are they lying about if the Earth is flat?
Back then it was. We're talking about back then, Davey. Come on. We're not talking about today. We're talking about back then. We're not talking about today's government. We're talking about back in the days that the Bible was written. There was no government pushing round Earth back then.
No, they knew the Earth was flat back then, but the fucking
it's not flat, you retard.
Huh?
You don't? Huh? You probably failed geometry class.
You probably sucked dick in class.
And you like to focus on that all the time. I know it's an obsession.
It's true though. I'm just
thinking about how I suck dick all day.
Listen, I told you what it was. I told you what it is, man. All right.
Flat cock in my mouth.
What it was,
Davey's fucking daydream.
That's how.
All the big black cocks that I shove down my fucking throat. You love that shit, don't you, Davey?
Yo, you're gross, bro. You're nasty.
Fucking retard. Take some geometry and then try to learn then try to fucking prove the flat Earth. Learn geometry, basic fucking geometry.
I got more evidence on my side than you do on yours. I'll tell you that.
Evidence if it's slapping you in the face and stuck its thumb up your ass.
Davey, you don't have more science on your side. Don't be ridiculous,
bro. All right,
the fucking ancient Greeks figured it out with a sundial.
Prove to me the Earth is round. Where's your evidence?
Oh, you do me a favor, Dave. Go away. Go away. If it has to be demonstrated to you with a presentation of facts,
blue marble,
that the fucking Earth is round, it's like.
That's proof.
Let's hang out with kindergartners. Let's hang out with 5-year-olds.
Where's the cameraman? Just floating in outer space, taking pictures?
Yeah, let's bring the 5-year-olds in. We'll educate them.
Wouldn't he get sucked out, like sucked away? Bro, you gotta ask these questions, man. Like,
yeah, I know.
Stupid.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like, bro.
I could yes you all day because you're fucking wrong.
All of the flat Earth questions that you have are going to fall. Every flat Earth Davey, Davey, every flat Earth question that you have is going to fall into one of two categories. Every single one. One category is going to be either a malformed question that has false assumptions built into it, or the other is going to be questions that are already fucking answered and you just don't know the answer or don't understand it.
Oh. No, you're wrong.
Davey, you don't think anybody has circumnavigated the world that they would already know? Are they all lying? We've gone around the world a billion times.
You guys are indoctrinated by fucking science.
Go with the
Well, you want evidence. You want evidence. We got guys flying around the earth countless numbers of times. Shouldn't that be evidence enough, Dave?
I'm telling you right now.
Are you that fucking twisted that you can't grasp that?
NASA is a fraud. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You're completely out of your mind. You got a real problem with knowledge.
You're out of your mind.
You got a real problem with knowledge. You think you're the only asshole that's got it.
Yeah, okay.
There's a time when our little planet seemed immense, when it was the only slither down the side.
You sound so fucking retarded, Dave. God almighty.
You're not so brainwashed, man.
Yeah. Everybody that's going around the world is lying.
You're indoctrinated by the system. They got you.
Now,
they got you.
System. How many people do you think could claim they went around the world? How many people by now?
That's perfectly easy to understand.
I don't care who claims.
Yeah, I know you don't. That's your problem. You don't care who's saying anything.
The shadow at Alexandria is the same length.
You have something you want to say, and that's it.
Prove anything.
How could it be?
Can't prove
Dave, honestly, you're a waste of time. You're a waste of fucking time.
No, you are.
Thank you. That's fine. That's fine.
You're welcome. Anytime. I'm here all weekend.
You see this, Davey?
You can't prove the Earth is a fucking blue marble. You can't. You just can't.
I think Outbound is offering you evidence in a video
of ancient Egypt. I've inserted 2 sticks or obelisks, one up here in Alexandria and one down here in Syene. Now, if at a certain moment each stick casts no shadow at all, that's perfectly easy to understand, provided the Earth is flat. If the shadow at Syene is at a certain length,
flat,
and the shadow at Alexandria is the same length,
God,
that also makes sense.
Dome.
Flat Earth. But how could it be, Eratosthenes asked, that at the same instant there was no shadow at Syene and a very substantial shadow at Alexandria?
Nothing you show me about that watches the mind.
The answer,
that's the devil's dick.
The surface of the Earth.
Did you like that example, Dave, or does that mean absolutely nothing to you?
That monument.
How I show that to you, the first thing you think is about the fucking.
But anyway. Yeah.
What's the first thing he says?
He said that's the devil's dick.
You can't prove
dick is the only thing you can focus on.
Oh, it's the devil's dick. Well, we didn't really consider that. It could be the devil's dick.
I'm being dead serious. That's what it stands. It's Satan's penis. That's
No. I understand. No, I'm glad you pointed that out.
Right at the top of it. Okay.
What was
it's actually Osiris phallus, Osiris's phallus. Actually.
Who was the first person to call the devil pencil dick?
Davey.
It would be fairly cheap for flat earthers to use the same method to prove the flat Earth by building 2 towers at those locations. Or it doesn't even have to be those locations.
Flat earthers, bro. It's so
so the whole shadow thing means nothing to you. Is that right, Dave?
It's stupid.
He doesn't understand basic geometry.
It doesn't make you a fucking flat earther. It's just fucking stupid.
So the shadows mean nothing to you?
Huh?
The length of the shadow means nothing to you. He's showing you that it has to be curved.
The shadow of my dick, you mean?
Oh, see, this is what you amount to, Dave. Idiocy.
No.
Why do you bother?
He says he's got that nobody can take on the evidence, but when the evidence is presented, he's got to distract you by, my dick.
There's no evidence presented. None.
Dave, you should be embarrassed, but because you're not, that's why you're an idiot.
Yeah. You need to go back to school, man.
If only you would muster up some embarrassment, we might like you. But because you can't, you're a fucking moron. Right, Al?
That's kind of funny.
Okay, dude, we can't.
I mean, this is one of the many ways you can prove the fucking round Earth. Like, this is one of the easiest.
Yeah, that was very nicely pulled up there, Outbound. Very lovely.
This is one of the easiest ones to understand. This is like Aristophanes. I can't ever say his name.
That's it.
He was one of the first guys to figure this out, and it's a very simple way to prove it. There's a lot of other stuff too, but like Davey probably can't even understand the concepts being presented there. That's how basic he is. But then he thinks he can make fucking proclamations about, the conclusions of the shape of the earth. You have no fucking clue.
I know I can.
No, you can't. Then please break down this video that I just showed you.
Bro, you can't. I told you, it's garbage. Okay?
That doesn't break it down. I said break it down. Go into detail about what mistake Carl Sagan is making. Where is the breakdown in his I'm
not breaking. Listen.
Where is the failure in his presentation? Where is it? Please point it out to me. You don't even understand it.
It's Aristophanes, Phanes.
Bro, just answer me this. You've been in a plane before, right? Airplane?
Yep.
You ever look down? You're above the clouds. You ever look down? You see the fucking the plane, the level. You ever see a curvature?
Oh my God! It's big.
Feet above the ground, and you never see a curve. It's all flat plane, all flat. Why is that?
Because it's so broad in its expanse that you can't take in the curvature. That's why.
Feet in the air, you don't think you would see a curve?
No. If you can't see a curve, there's a reason for it. There's too much expanse there for you to pick up on the curve. That's the reason.
And actually, to tell you the truth, you can see it. If you were to stand near a bridge line, like a really long bridge, like the one in San Francisco or something, you actually. Like the curve is so slight that it's hard to pick it up with your eye. But when you have something like a bridge,
what about people
disappearing? You have something like a bridge,
and they
Dave, does the mast of a ship that's David, does the mast of a ship make you nervous when it comes into view little by little, coming over the horizon? Does that make you nervous, or is somebody's dick getting longer?
Huh?
That's all it is to him, is a big fucking black.
Yeah. No, somebody getting a boner. Is that what that is?
You're a little fucking gay boy. That's all.
It's like that boat.
You're the guy that thinks dick is the answer.
Big black cock, therefore flat earth.
I love dick, therefore the earth is flat. I think, therefore I am a faggot.
A lot of these issues of today did not exist in the world.
We're going back to that again.
Issues like how somebody looked.
We covered that.
People.
We already covered that.
Yeah, shut up, Alvin.
I mean, I don't even know how to. These are things that nobody.
Essay. What the fuck?
It doesn't have to be an issue. Just because it's not an issue at the time, doesn't mean that God can't accurately convey a message. Like that doesn't. This is not an issue, so that motivates me to be misleading about it. That's not a defense.
Now, you see how I'm talking about one thing and Outbound talks about something else?
This was something that you brought up in reference to that before.
No, I wasn't
retard, bro.
You're talking about the black cock. And you somehow reverted back to the shit we were talking about.
No, I wasn't talking about necessarily. I'm talking about there's particular things that people worry about today more, like how people look. Like if you notice, a lot of these ancient texts don't really give a lot of physical descriptions of how the great people looked back in the day. You know what I'm saying? But now physical feature means a lot more today than it did in the past.
I don't know about that. Fucking Greeks were always making fucking sculptures and
matter of fact, evolution-wise, people are actually marrying more off physical appearance more than they ever have. And they even say that this may result in another subspecies of human, where you have where you have the more and more attractive people are having more babies, and you're having I guess the ugly people getting together.
What is the point of bringing that up?
evolution is fake.
Well, we were talking about things that don't really matter in the past, and I'm basically just going with the flow.
You're just trying to segue onto some.
Yo, Big L, you do you believe in God?
Who is he talking to?
You.
My name's not Big L.
Nah, whatever your name is, my bad. Believe in God?
Yes.
You do? So how you gonna talk about evolution and God in the same sentence? It makes no sense.
Oh God, here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah, Alvin, explain your way out of that one.
With the truth.
That's somewhat of
that makes no sense, bro. If monkeys created humans, where's that takes God right into the picture?
Monkeys created humans.
No.
That explains a lot.
Monkeys are monkeys. Humans are humans. Monkeys have nothing to do with humans. Okay? That's what science fiction is. That's all it is. Science is bullshit.
Yeah, Alvin. What the fuck's the matter with you?
Okay?
It's somewhat of a non sequitur to say because evolution is real.
You go look at science. Go get a science textbook right now from front to back. All lies. All lies.
Yeah, no, it's like
I'll put it to you like
outer space. All lies.
I'll put it to you like this, Davey. Back when I was a little more sexually active, right?
Yeah.
One day I woke up with snot coming out of my dick, right? Oh. I went to a hospital and they gave me some penicillin to combat the virus in me, and it ate it away. Ever since then, I believed evolution existed in one form or another.
What?
Because they then said if I got it again, there's a less likely chance that the antibiotics will work as good because the virus within adapt. Yeah, we're talking about viruses adapting. So now certain strains of gonorrhea can't even be cured anymore because the virus evolved to adapt to the antibiotics, right? So, yeah, in one form of some sort, it has.
Nice example, Alvin. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
I wasn't interrupting that time.
Talking about.
Yeah, and thank you.
What I said. That you went off the grid on that one.
No, I'm talking about.
Off the grid, that's his code for making me look stupid.
Don't believe in God.
What a perfectly conspiracy.
Monkeys created humans and not God. So, okay.
I don't believe monkeys created humans.
So then you believe God created humans.
You live in a world of a false dichotomy of either this or that. It's either monkeys created humans or God exists. I
love that monkeys created humans.
You can't.
I want to put that on a shirt. Evolution equals monkeys created humans.
Makes no sense.
No,
I don't think that's why you want to put it on a shirt.
That's fucking funny.
I don't believe monkeys created humans.
I don't think anybody believes that.
Like, either you believe in one or the other. Period.
Yeah, but see, we call that a false dichotomy. You created two options, pretending as if those are the only two options that exist. So it's either God exists or humans create monkeys.
Listen.
Or monkeys create humans.
Listen.
You know, you're not allowed to say the name of God, but you can refer to him as Monkey Boy.
Oh.
Davey, let me help you out. It's not monkeys created humans. The accurate description is that monkeys and humans have a common ancestor.
Nope.
Try to say it correctly from now on.
No, dude.
You sound really stupid when you say monkeys created humans.
No, they didn't.
Yes, we agree.
Monkeys
did not create humans.
Monkeys did not create humans. This idea that monkeys created humans would not be considered evolution. Evolution does not make the claim that monkeys created humans.
So we are all on one page. Nobody on the panels. So nobody on the panel believes monkeys created humans.
Davey thinks that's what evolution is, though. He thinks evolution means monkeys created humans.
Monkeys turned into humans. They evolved into humans. Yeah.
That is not what evolution says, Davey.
Means, moron.
No, it doesn't.
Evolution says monkeys and humans have a common ancestor.
But yeah, right. My point
that probably looked like an ape of some sort.
You know, honestly, to tell you the truth, if you want to go by the classification of if you want to go with the classification of animals, technically we're all monkeys. They're monkeys. We're monkeys. The common ancestors.
Apes. Monkeys got tails.
Animal. We're not fucking monkeys.
No, because New World monkeys don't have tails. So the tail is actually not something.
Monkey, you idiot. We're human beings.
The tail is not something that's included in
monkeys.
The tail is not something that's included in as an exclusive.
What's the difference between a monkey and an ape?
A monkey and an ape? It's a good question.
Yeah.
I think it has to do with.
Okay, well, it kind of goes what we said. Apes don't have tails, while most monkey species do. Apes tend to be larger than monkeys and usually have larger brains.
Yeah, but if you look at the actual, if you look at like evolutionary biology in the actual criteria that something has to fit to be technically called a monkey, humans fit that.
Hey, look, we don't. It says in evolutionary genetic terms, ape species are much closer to humans than monkeys are.
Yeah. What if you're referring to what's commonly referred to as a monkey? But like I said, when you move into the science of classification, they're real specific about the traits that make something fall into a specific phylum, and or not. It's not a phylum. It's a clade. That's what they go by now as clades. When something falls into a clade, it has to fit specific criteria, and the criteria that's outlined for what's designated as monkey, humans actually fit all those criteria as well. So technically, we are monkeys.
No, we are all primates, but human beings.
We're primates. We're monkeys.
God, what?
We are monkeys.
That's because you have monkeys and you have prosimians.
I mean, I think most of what you're saying, Alvin, is correct. Because when you're saying monkey, you're not talking about the clade. You're talking about the colloquial, what most people refer to as monkeys, the animals that are not humans, that are not apes.
Yeah, like a chimp is not a monkey.
But if you want to go by actual classification, technically, according to that, we would fall into the clade of monkeys.
Let me type this. Are humans monkeys?
Yeah, you're going to get mixed answers on that when you type it into the web.
No, humans are not, but people.
I don't know if you can see when you say, "Are we monkeys?" Like,
okay, here we go. Humans and monkeys are both primates, but humans are not descended from monkeys or any other living primate.
The question is, did monkeys evolve into humans? That's the question.
No. Look, okay. When you say did monkeys evolve into humans, you're not talking about the clade. You're not talking about
the fucking school.
You're not talking about the clade of monkeys. You're talking about colloquially what we refer to as monkeys, the animals. And evolution doesn't claim that we evolved from them.
Oh, chimps, whatever the fuck. Same shit.
Evolution does not claim that we evolved from them. Evolution claims that we have a common ancestor with them.
Same shit, whatever.
No, it's not the same. That's a big difference. You gotta try to wrap your head around the idea of a common ancestor.
Yeah, shut up.
Because the common ancestor that we both have, the common ancestor that we share with monkeys, is not exactly the same as the monkeys that exist today. It would be a different species. It wouldn't be the same. Even if it's something that you might still call a monkey, it wouldn't be the same as the monkeys we have today. So you can't say we evolved from the monkeys that are walking on the earth today, because we didn't.
All right, smart guy. What do we say?
I love how you want to mock intelligence as if that's
you can't.
That's a negative thing. It's a bad thing to have some smarts. Don't be a smart guy. Be a dumb guy.
Don't be a sourpuss. Don't
Yeah, being smart is a sourpuss, right?
Hey,
yeah. It really brings you down when you're around a smart guy, doesn't it?
I'm gonna read the best science and religion quote ever made by a person, Martin Luther King.
If you look, Alvin, if you look up like the monkey clade, humans actually fall under the monkey clade. So by classification standards, we would be a monkey.
Hey, let me read you this quote from Martin Luther King. It's the greatest, one of the all-time great quotes. It says, Martin Luther King said, "Science investigates, religion interprets. Science gives man knowledge, which is power. Religion gives man wisdom, which is control. Science deals mainly with facts. Religion deals mainly with value. The two are not rivals. They are contemporary."
Oh, God.
Science. Oh, look. You like this part?
They are rivals.
Hold on. Look at what he says here.
Science comes with values as well. It values logic and reason and evidence.
Look at this. Look what he says right here.
Method above all.
Look what he says right here. You'll like this.
That is at complete odds with faith.
Hold on. You'll like what he says right here. He says, "Science keeps religion from sinking into the valley of crippling irrationalism and paralyzing I can't pronounce that word. But basically he says science keeps religion in check for the most part. And here's this thing, and religion prevents science from falling into a marsh, obsolete materialism and nihilism."
Oh my God, science doesn't lead to nihilism.
Let me tell you something. If I was watch that movie Mother on Netflix. It's saying, hey, the most rational thing to do is completely wipe out all the humans. And the robot said, hey, we're going to farm our own humans in our own way to make a better world. That's a very rational thing to do. Is it the moral thing to do?
Yeah, if you're a fucking sadist.
Hey, I'm just saying, sometimes the more rational, logical, scientific thing to do is not always the most moral thing to do.
That's incorrect.
Look, hey, okay, watch this. You got
five. Make proclamations about what you should do listen. You can't use science to make a proclamation about what you should do unless you have first established some values and goals. If you don't have that established prior to using the science, then science is worthless as far as telling you what you should do.
Can I ask you this? There's a thought experiment. I'm interested to hear what your answer is. There's this thought experiment. So, Outbound, you're a doctor, right? You have 5 patients, okay? All 5 patients need one organ in order to live, or else they die, okay? I mean, 4 of the patients need an organ in order to live, or else they'll die.
Science to make
but one of the patients.
Oh, looks like we lost them.
Yeah, what happened? Alvin, your audio went out.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. So here's the question. I'll say it again. You're the doctor, and there's 5 people. 4 of the people are going to die if they don't get a particular body part, right? And one of the patients is 100% fine. But the thing is, he has all of the body parts needed to save the other 4. The logical thing would be to kill him and give the other 4 to the other body parts to the 4 survivors. So instead of just having one person live, you have 4 people living. That would be the logical thing to do.
I disagree.
The moral thing to do would be let the other 4 people die and just let him live.
I disagree.
Well, that's pretty accurate.
No, it's not.
The logical
when he says logical, he simply means in terms of human worth, what do you have left? You got 4 live people and 1 dead, or you got 1 live person and 4 dead. I mean,
there are more aspects to that.
So there are, but as far as pure logic goes, it's kind of an example of it.
No, that's why I said that science only serves you when you've agreed on some starting values and goals. If you start with the values and goals that say we need to maximize the number of lives, even if it sacrifices autonomy, and even if it sacrifices morale, and even if it sacrifices
but you're a doctor. Your job is to make sure humans live. So your whole objective as a doctor
No.
You're a doctor.
You're saying that that's true, but that's incorrect.
So the doctor's purpose is not to heal humans. Is that not the purpose of a doctor?
That's not the part of your logic that makes any sense, Alvin.
Listen,
only in terms of how many people survived and how many people died. That's as far as your logic goes.
Wait a minute. So a doctor's job is not to heal people.
But if you look at like Outbound's trying to tell you, if you look at what you have to do to save a life, which is to take a life, you're already breaking your fucking vows.
Yeah. Listen, it's more than just that. And like I said, you're only pointing out one of the values and goals, which is to maximize how many people live, right? That is a value and a goal that a doctor has. But doctors also value bodily autonomy. So that comes into conflict.
Okay. There's another thought experiment here. Okay, let's say you see a child, right? And it is an undisputable fact, okay? This is a hypothetical. Just please don't apply real world stuff to it. But let's say you have a child, and everybody knows for a fact this child will grow up and become a serial killer. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Do you kill that child right then and there?
I mean,
of course. What kind of question is that?
First of all, I would say no. I would say no.
Why would you have to kill him?
Yeah, you could just be there for his first murder and stop him midway.
What? Are you retarded, bro?
Why would I be retarded? What are you fucking?
You hear what you just said?
I mean,
be there for him in his first murder.
That's exactly how our system works. That's how.
First of all, it's a very.
Okay.
I'll watch him slit the guy's throat, and then I'll.
I said stop him before he does so, and charge him with fucking attempt.
Dude, toss him in the garbage as soon as he's born.
That's exactly what we do right now. That's exactly what we do now.
What do you mean?
Alvin, what were you trying to ask him? Because
that's like a
you make no sense with your logic. I don't understand that question.
That's a flipped out hypothetical, but you don't have to kill him.
You don't have to kill him.
You just put him in jail for the rest of his life.
Actually,
first of all, you have to explain to him, we already know that you're going to be a serial killer. Don't ask us how we know, but we know. And so here's what we have to do to grant you a life worth living. We got to watch you 24/7.
We already have fucking laws about conspiracy to commit murder. When we get information that somebody's going to commit a murder, we arrest them.
So the child will have to be in surveillance for the rest of his life in a jail.
Well, no, you. I mean, it's not always the rest of your life. I mean, we have.
Yeah, for him it is, because he's going to be a serial killer. But the whole point I'm saying is, it wouldn't be illogical to kill him. That's the point I'm making.
It's unnecessary, so that makes it illogical.
It is illogical.
No, hold on. What I'm saying is, you're going to spend resources on surveillance and monitoring him while alleviating all of that red tape. So the point I'm saying is, sometimes the most logical thing to do is not the moral thing.
You are completely wrong.
Because why would we expect all these things when
if you take that knowledge as valid, you'd have to incarcerate him from the very beginning and give him as much freedom as can be supervised.
But what I'm saying is, here's the thing: you're spending resources you don't have to spend. Kill him off Jump Street, and that's over.
You're only talking about one guy. You're only talking about one guy. If this is going to be a fucking, if this is going to be an epidemic, we got a problem.
No, what I'm saying. But this is what I'm saying. The logical thing is not always the most moral. You save resources. You don't have to pay a whole bunch of people. Listen, kill them, and then that alleviates the problem right then and there.
We already.
And I would agree it would be immoral, but it would be more logical.
Incorrect.
Alvin,
you're not making a very good point.
You're stating lies. You're saying we don't have the resources when we do. Our system.
No, you don't have to use the resources. That's what I'm saying.
Alvin,
it's illogical to use resources when you don't have to.
Alvin, listen. Jesus Christ.
I can't believe you're telling me to listen. That's
Alvin,
amazing.
shut the
Alvin, let him talk, please.
You said that we don't have the resources. Now you're trying to backtrack on that and say that it's a waste.
No, I said you don't need to use the resources. I didn't say we don't have them.
Nobody said we need to. It's all about what you value and what your goals are, right?
That's the point I'm trying to make.
You are just a cold, sadistic fuck, and you're just like,
I said it was immoral. Listen to me, bro.
Listen.
The logical thing to do is if you don't have to use these resources.
That is illogical.
Don't use them.
That is illogical.
How is that illogical? If I can present a situation where I don't have to use these resources.
Shut up. Just stop.
Right. Go.
I'm doing my best Outbound impression right now.
Thank you, Alvin. All right, Outbound, go.
If you want to be purely logical about it, if you're going to accept the goals and values that we currently do in society today, or at least the more sane of us, the more empathetic of us, if you really have social health as a goal and you want to reduce violence and all that, the most logical thing to do would be to monitor him, to study him, to try to figure out the causes of his nature so that we might prevent them in the future. That would be the most logical course of action.
That would be the smartest, It's a hypothetical, so you're going to have hypothetical remedies here. He would basically have to be incarcerated 24/7 with as much freedom and observation as that we can make. That would be safe to grant. That's it.
Okay, so I think the thing is you're adding other variables to the hypothetical, right?
No.
Because the whole goal was, okay, so now if you add the variable, well, hey, I'm keeping him alive to study him, then I'm like, okay, cool, that's fine.
That's why I said.
But hold on.
Alvin, that's why I said it depends on the value. It depends on what you value at first. Your course. The logical, most scientific action that you want to take.
Well, I have to add so much stuff.
It's going to depend on what your goal is.
So
if you don't have a goal of social health, then just kill them right away.
In this hypothetical, the goal is simply to eliminate a threat. That's the goal of this hypothetical.
If that's your only goal.
Hold on.
If your only goal is to eliminate.
You just yelled at me for interrupting you. Now you
if your only goal is to eliminate threats,
hard talking to
then you're going to be best able to eliminate threats if you gather more information on them. That still comes back to study.
So listen. The reason, how they knew he was going to do that? They're omniscient, okay? So they don't need to study him. They already know everything, okay? So now, this child, there's no logical reason to keep him alive. We know everything. He's a murderer. Now, again, it wouldn't be the moral thing to do.
Wait a minute. These people are omniscient, and you mean omnipotent?
Oh my God.
They can solve this fucking problem.
Alvin, you're just like the dumbest hypothetical questions that you're
gave away your hypothetical when you made
that guy has so much patience to actually try to reason with you. You're just being illogical yourself.
Yeah,
we get
okay, Bronzee, what is my argument? Okay, let's try Bronzee.
You keep trying to throw out the morals and say purely illogical, and
I'm not throwing. It's like y'all just don't understand. You know,
give a better example than what give us a better hypothetical, one that we can reason with.
All right, Alvin, try it again, Alvin. Try it again.
Give us another.
I don't know what that was.
Listen,
Okay.
just listen.
Okay.
He keeps making
a really stupid question.
Okay, listen.
Listen. You keep making the same mistake over and over again. You keep trying to say purely logical without the moral thing, and you're saying we're adding the morals.
You're adding variables to the hypothetical.
Alvin, listen. You can't operate
Outbound. Do you ever listen? You keep telling people to listen, but you don't listen. You need to sometimes be quiet.
No, Alvin.
I heard what you were starting to say.
Let me ask Bronzee the other one.
You keep building houses on turds, Alvin.
I'm gonna ask Bronzee the other one. Okay.
When you drop a turd on the ground, tell me you're gonna build a house on it. I'm not gonna let you finish.
I'm gonna talk to Bronzee.
I'm not gonna let you finish the fucking house. Just stop.
Let me ask Bronzee.
Alvin, stop.
So now you're God. So you really are God. I can't speak.
Give him a shot. Let him run out. Let him run.
Shut the fuck up. I'd have been done already. If you'd have just shut the fuck up.
Okay.
We're not worried about your finish line. Let him talk and just be quiet for him.
I know that's the problem, is that you're not worried about it.
Well, that's right. Let him talk.
You're just gonna keep dragging this out, aren't you?
Yeah, we got all night. Let him talk.
Okay. So Bronzee,
let me talk. You shut up and listen.
Oh my God.
Outbound, really, you can be really fucked up sometimes.
No.
You have no concept of yielding. You have no concept whatsoever.
That's exactly right. And the sooner you learn that, the faster the
No. The sooner you keep this up, the sooner everything ends.
Like you said,
you can't be dealt with.
There will be zero yielding. So the sooner you learn that,
can't be dealt with. You're fucking up everything. You're fucking up everything.
Dragging it out and dragging it out.
You're fucking up everything, Outbound.
Alvin fucks up and you make it worse.
No, it's only you fucking up everything. You're fucking up everything, Outbound.
No, I'm about to fix this.
Alvin, you're going to have to yield to this stupid fuck. Go ahead, Outbound.
Right. About time you figured that out.
Yeah, right, you stupid, you half a fucking boom.
Quit making me repeat this. Listen, he keeps saying that we're trying to drag these other variables in. You can't come into it without those other variables. Because if you don't start with some sort of values and goals, then you have nothing to use the logic to get to, right? The only way that logic and science can help you in any of these fucking hypotheticals you're bringing up is if you first identify what you value and what your end goal is.
Okay, Bronzee, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how this all started. I'm gonna give you the first hypothetical, right? And I'm gonna have to alter it so Outbound just keeps throwing in all these variables that aren't even in it. So
what
look,
did I just say?
You know what? I wish I didn't even say that because I knew you were gonna do that. So look, Bronzee, you're in a building, right?
Christ.
You're in a building and you're a doctor. The objective is to keep as many people in the building alive.
Don't bring up an objective. Okay. No, that's an unneeded variable.
Can I please? Okay.
You can't have an objective. That's an.
You never said that the first time, Alvin.
I know. I have to alter it to stop all these other variables.
Well, you just ended the fucking story.
No, but I wish I could just finish this. Right?
Yeah, but Alvin,
look, can I please
you're trying to throw.
God damn!
You're bringing in moral considerations.
No,
Alvin. Now it's simply an objective.
Hold on. No, but this is.
Morals give you an objective.
I wish I just need 1 minute. Please,
try it again, Alvin. Alvin, try it again. Let's hear it.
Please, y'all. I just need a minute to say it.
If you choose one,
please just.
Let him fuck up, Alvin.
Listen, if you choose just one narrow objective and you throw all the morals and values out and all the objectives that would come along with those morals, if you throw that all away, then yeah, you're left with some sadistic fucking goal that's gonna lead logic down to that sadistic end.
I agree with you. He's not gonna get it though. Like, I mean, he might start getting it. But
hold on, I'm almost done.
Well, Bronzee, I didn't even get to finish what I was saying. He cut
because
me
I'm
off.
understanding what he's saying, so I'm saying that he's correct because none of y'all are validating or agreeing that he's making a good point. That's why I'm saying that.
But Bronzee, my argument is that sometimes the logical thing to do is not always the moral thing to do.
You did not make a good case then. You gave a very bad hypothetical.
Okay, but I didn't even get to finish it because he cut me off.
You cannot have. You can't.
So I wanted to. Okay, so let me ask Bronzee.
You cannot have the logic without the morals. You can't.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's true. Actually, you're being illogical by being amoral or immoral, like whatever.
Hold it. If you can come up with an example that actually proves what you're saying, that sometimes the logical thing is not the moral thing, I want to hear it because so far you haven't come up with it.
So let me ask Bronzee.
Just so you know, so far you haven't come up with it.
I'm not asking the same hypothetical that you ask him because I don't like that.
No, Bronzee, it's cool. So Bronzee, I'm
starting with a false premise.
Let me get this. Let me just try this. Please, just give me 1 minute. I am asking you.
Go.
Okay. So listen, you're a doctor in a building, Bronzee. And your objective, your job is to keep as many people alive in the building, okay? There's 5 patients or 5 people in the building, okay?
Fucked up.
4 of them are going. Hold on, 4 of them are going to. God,
let her finish and then take it apart.
God damn it! Why do you do it?
I just want to finish, and then I have to start over.
It's called being civilized now.
Start from where you left off. I'm not retarded.
I know you're not retarded.
That is the core of the problem right there. Is that you're creating this doctor who has the one objective. And you're
please finish what I'm saying.
Okay, just let him finish. Okay, I get what you're saying.
I beg of you.
You're picking one objective for the doctor, and you're throwing out all the other objectives the doctor.
We heard you say that already, Outbound. I'm going to say the same thing a little differently when he's done.
Okay. So look, this is what I'm saying.
Fucking waste of time though. He's building a house on a.
Okay, Outbound, let him talk. He's talking to Bronzee, not to you. He's talking to Bronzee, not to you. Let him talk.
I mean, the core of the argument is basically, well, if we were not immoral people, if we had some other objectives besides the morals that we actually have, then logically you would do a bunch of sadistic shit. It's like, well, yeah, of course. If we throw our fucking morals away, of course we would be immoral.
Thank you, Outbound.
It's a fucking non-argument.
Alvin, try it again. You have a big challenge ahead of you.
The challenge is just getting able to finish it without getting
Outbound, you're spoiling the whole hangout. Let people finish, please.
I'm the only one keeping this.
No, stop talking. Just stop talking for 5 minutes and let people say what they've got to say, and then reevaluate. But stop talking, please.
The more you tell me not to, the more I will.
Thank you, Outbound.
Go
out.
Start listening, Outbound.
I can't talk over
Start
people.
Listening. Thank you.
All right, Sid. Alvin, go ahead.
Okay, so Bronzee. Okay, so back to where we were. So there's 4. So now there's 5 people in the building. 4 of them are suffering from an ailment. They need a body part, right? And if they don't get the body part, they'll die. You have 1 person who's completely healthy, but he has all the body parts needed to save the 4, right? I would say it would be immoral, right? I think it's immoral to kill the healthy guy and give his parts to the 4. I think it's immoral to do that, right? But from a logic standpoint,
incorrect.
It's incorrect. It's not logical. What the fuck is your logic here? What is your fucking logic here? I hate this question. Alvin, this is why I cannot stand you. This is why I can't stand you. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Alvin, when you say it's immoral to do so, what you're saying is that we have certain values and goals that go against it, right? So logically, listen.
I wish I can't even finish a point.
Alvin, listen.
It's so hard to talk.
It's even worse than your first point that I heard. That was slavery. That when you were arguing for slavery, it's even worse than that.
Alvin, you said it's immoral. If it's immoral, that means
I gave you my.
Alvin, if you have goals that are aligned with that morality, then logically, in order for you to achieve those goals,
Alvin, you don't know what logic is. That's the problem.
You sounded like you got far enough into it, Alvin. You said
you don't understand logic. You know,
the point you had to make. Go ahead.
So here's the logic.
You have no logic here, actually. You don't understand what logic is about.
Alvin, just talk over her. Don't worry about it.
4 being alive is more than 1. So logically, you want 4 more than 1.
Yeah, but you already said that that's an immoral thing to do.
That's what I'm saying. That's why
it's an immoral thing to do. If it's immoral,
so therefore, sometimes moral and logic are 2 different things. Morality and logic are 2 different things.
I didn't say
4 is more than 1.
You know
but killing the one to save the 4 is
logic only makes sense when you have a goal.
It's illogical what you're saying, actually. I am so sorry. It's illogical because
to do so, Alvin, then what you're saying is
4 more than 1.
Alvin, if it's immoral to do so, that means you have a goal. Alvin, you've established
4 is more than 1.
Alvin.
So therefore, if your objective is to keep more people alive, it's more logical to keep the 4 alive instead of the 1.
The thing is,
I would say it's
Alvin, listen. What you're doing is that this doctor is like probably a robot and in the AI you just programmed that his objective is to save as many lives as he can. But does that mean that you would kill someone's life to save others? I mean, is that one of the things that you put in that AI test? If that's what you want to do.
Bronzee, you're correct. Bronzee, you're 1,000,000% correct. A robot would look at the scenario. Since a robot's a machine, he's not going to think about the morals. He was like, 4 is more than 1. I'm gonna kill this
robot would think about the morals.
So that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about.
But are you gonna also program into the AI's head that it is okay to kill someone to save someone's life? Is it ever okay? Is it ever logical to kill someone to save someone's life? If that becomes normal and okay, then under only that condition, your logic applies. Otherwise, it never applies. And since it never applies, your whole scenario
you understand. Listen, you understand my argument. Bronzee, you get my argument. Hold on, you get my argument, Bronzee. The robot example.
Your argument is incorrect as proved.
Because my argument isn't that it's okay. Listen, my argument isn't that it's okay to kill the 1 to save the 4. That's not my argument. My argument is
not your argument. Then you have no argument.
No. My argument is maybe the more logical thing to do if you put it in a robot and his whole objective is just to save the most people.
Alvin,
that may be the more logical. But as a human, I have feelings and I have humanity.
No, Alvin, you would also have to program the AI where it makes it okay to kill someone
then
to
you're
save
changing
someone else.
Okay,
that's a huge thing.
So this is what happened. I give the analogy. The analogy changes to fit the new argument.
Listen,
instead of just keeping with the first analogy, you got another analogy.
The thing is, Alex, listen. Oh, Alvin, there are 2 variables, and you just ignoring one. Where I pointed out the other one also has to be okay.
Alvin, you're adding it. You're the one who said it's immoral.
Can I interject here? Can I interject here, please? Can I interject?
Is that okay in your hypothetical scenario to kill someone to save someone's life?
Okay. My argument is not
only in that situation your logic.
I got a clarifying example. Hold on, guys. First of all, I just want to make one simple statement. Morality is something that is logically arrived at. I got news for you. It's not a preconception before we got here. It only became real because we hammered it out. That's number 1. Number 2, if you take those same 4 guys and the 5th guy and you put them somewhere like in a cave, and they had a big ass rock that took 4 guys to move, then maybe you would want to say, hey, buddy, how about giving us your fucking organs so that we can live and then we can move this fucking rock and get out of here? Because other than that, we're all going to die.
No, what do you think? To kill someone to save someone's life.
Again, it all comes down to what you agree on. That's your morality. There is no preconception of morality.
Okay, does it become logical ever to kill someone to save someone else's life? If it does, then I'll give it to Alvin that his argument stands. Otherwise, he has no argument, because I don't logically see how it's okay to kill someone to save someone else's life.
Yeah, well, that's not the example I'm giving. That's not the example I'm giving.
True. I'm just asking Alvin if he gets it, since 3 people have rephrased it over and over in different ways, have told him.
The concept
he fails to understand that.
So the concept is not killing one person just to save another. It's like, hey, if you kill this person, then you're going to save 20. If you don't kill this person,
is it going to be logical in your head to kill that one person to save other people? Only then.
If you just go by the numbers, if your whole objective is, hey, 20 is more than 1, it would be.
And 20 is more than 1, and it's okay to kill someone. You know, you're
in that scenario.
Only in that scenario, when it becomes okay to kill someone, then it's logical. Otherwise, it's not logical, because it's not logical to kill someone. You know, just for organs or what.
So
it's never logical. Like,
so war is not logical.
It's something like it has to. If 3 people are saying that it's illogical to do that, you got to take a step back. You know.
Wait a minute.
I digress. Like, I should also.
So Bronzee, you're telling me, if you're presented a situation where if you don't kill this one guy, these other 20 people will die, you're saying it's illogical if you kill that guy?
Yes, it is entirely illogical unless he himself is a threat directly to those people. It is illogical to kill that guy.
I mean, I would.
How is that logical to kill that guy?
20 is more than 1.
How did you decide that someone's life is more important than the other person's life?
Because 20 is more than 1.
If I wasn't eating all the food I was eating, I could probably feed 20 more people who would die. But I'm not giving up my food. The whole thing is just ridiculous. You've got to.
It's ridiculous, Alvin. How can you even think?
There's a million ways to come up with this fucking example.
You would really benefit from reading a little bit more than you do. I mean, I know that you want to do thought experiments and all, but you don't have the required foundation to do.
I mean,
you have to understand logic.
You know
what? I'm actually reading a very good book, and I shared it, and a couple of people started reading it, and they all love it. So I shared it, and you can also read it.
Okay, so this is what happens. All that's happening is I give one example, and then y'all get hit with a what if. Well, what if this? No, when you do a thought experiment, these are the variables, and that's it. If you keep adding what ifs to it, then it kind of.
The answer is you don't kill the guy. The answer is you don't kill the guy.
So you're telling me, hostage, and then again, this is like a hostage situation where, hey, if you don't kill this dude,
we got you, but you are.
No, listen, it's just simple.
You should concede now, because you are proved wrong right now. You know, you should concede that I was wrong. I wasn't making sense, and I'm actually asking.
All right, Bronzee. All right.
So all I'm saying is this: more human lives being alive is better than 1 human life. If you're just looking at a purely logistical numbers game. Now, again, if you don't kill the guy, that is perfectly moral. That's what I probably wouldn't have.
It's also logical.
Hold on, but
it's more logical to not kill that person.
Okay, what I'm saying is 20 is more than 1. You're now sorrowing the deaths of 20 people.
Putting their lives in death. Is he holding a gun and telling them he's going to shoot? Then it's okay to kill him.
Instead of sorrowing over 1 person, you're now sorrowing over 20 people that have now died because you made the decision to kill 1.
Alvin,
that's what I'm saying. You have 20 people dead as opposed to 1. The logical thing would to do. Kill the 1 to save the 20. I mean,
it's logical
to kill someone to save someone else's life.
No,
then only make that logical first.
No,
That's okay first, and then we can proceed.
We do it all the time. It's called war.
Do you understand that?
We do it all the time.
What I just said?
War has goals. War has objectives.
The goal is to keep people alive.
Logical in your head.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, people kill people to save many all the time throughout history. Hey, we have this threat. If you don't kill this person, then this will happen. So what
you can't compare war with your hypothesis.
All I'm saying is this: 20 lives is more than one life. Saving 20 and killing one is the more logical. I can't even break it down to more simpler than that.
Well, but here's the problem, Alvin. Here's the problem. You're in a vacuum here. Well, how about we introduce the fact that the guy that you're considering killing and the 20 guys whose life
right there, you're just adding
whose life is in the 20 guys whose life is in the balance, they have an opinion they can express as well. So the one guy says, Jesus, if I give up my life, I can save 20 people. Maybe I will. And the 20 guys, maybe they're thinking, why don't we just kill this motherfucker?
You see how you just added a whole new analogy to
you're dealing with a fantasy, Alvin. You want to stay locked into a narrow fantasy.
This is
Alvin.
One person.
Listen, Alvin. You can't sit here and say that something. You can't say that it's immoral to kill the guy to save the other people, and then say that the.
You're not listening. I'm not saying it's immoral if you don't kill him. I'm not saying it's immoral if you don't kill him. And what y'all doing? I found the word. It's ad hoc. Y'all are being.
I didn't say don't kill him, Alvin. You said.
What is that?
You're saying that morals contradict logic. You're saying that morals contradict logic because.
No.
Alvin, listen.
Just not what I said.
You're saying that what you said, what's logical is not what's always moral, and you're wrong. Now, when you say that it's immoral to kill the guy to save the other four, when you
I didn't say that.
Oh my God!
Listen to me, bro. If you chose not to kill him, I'm not saying that is immoral. I'm saying it may not be logical.
That's the opposite of what I'm saying. That is the opposite of what I'm saying.
That's not what I said.
I'm talking about it being immoral if you do kill him.
Okay. You're saying it's immoral.
If you do kill him, it's immoral. That's what you said.
And therefore illogical as well.
No.
Yeah. Now listen. Listen, Alvin. Listen, Alvin. If it's immoral to kill him, then you're automatically starting out with an objective where you have a goal to not kill the guy. So then you can't then revert and say that the doctor's only objective is to save the most people, because you already started with an objective to not kill the guy. So there's obviously more than just the objective to save the most people. You have more than one objective there.
I didn't say the objective is not to kill the guy. I said the objective is to save the most people. Okay?
Exactly. You're not listening, Alvin. You are not listening, Alvin.
What are y'all doing? Now, what y'all are doing?
You are not listening. You're not listening, Alvin.
I found the word.
You started out with Alvin. You started out with the
save the most people.
Alvin. You're trying to say that what's logical is not always immoral, right? So you're starting with the assumption that the morality that tells us not to kill the guy, you're saying that is in contrast with the objective of saving the most people, which it is, right? But that doesn't make it logical for the doctor to go with the objective of saving the most people and ignore the objective of not murdering the guy. You're not going to ignore the one objective.
I did not say
you take both objectives into account.
Okay, so what's happening?
You're setting up a scenario that has multiple objectives, and then you're cherry picking one objective to try to say there's a contradiction when there isn't.
I never said the objective is to save the one person. I never said that.
What
Alvin, you said it was immoral to kill the guy.
But that's
you said
But
Alvin, your whole core of the whole core of your presentation is to show a contrast between the logical and the moral. And the moral thing that is the contrast is killing the guy, because you have to kill the guy. If you like, you're contrasting the objective of saving the four people. You're calling the saving the four people the logical thing. That's the thing that you're calling logical, is saving the four, kill the guy, save the four people. That's what you're calling logical, and you're contrasting that with let the guy live, right? And that's supposedly that's the morality side of your argument, is let the guy live, right? So you're contrasting morality with logic, according to you. But if you're going to assume that it's a moral thing to do, if you're assuming it's moral
it's not the objective.
Huh?
Which is not the objective.
Right. I know. You're trying to throw out all the other objectives. That's my point. You're saying that this is the one objective, as if that's really the objective of doctors. And it's not. There's not one singular objective of doctors. They have multiple objectives. Sometimes they conflict with each other, and they fall into a hierarchy. One thing that is at the top of that hierarchy, that is above save the most people, is to respect bodily autonomy. That comes before save the most people. Okay. So you're trying to throw that out. You're trying to just
give you a better example of what you were trying to actually prove.
I just gotta say this.
Let me try to give an example of when it is not always moral to be logical. Is if someone has a deadly virus and that person cannot contain himself, no matter what we do, even if we quarantine him, it's gonna spread and people are gonna die. It's not his fault that he's infected with that virus, but now he's putting the whole city in danger, and nothing we can do is going to protect us. Now, in that condition, it is immoral to kill him, but it's more logical, actually. Because he's not only going to die he's also going to, kill a bunch of other people if he lives.
Fine. I'll take it.
I don't know that I would say that that's immoral. I don't see that's the core of this, is that it depends on what you consider moral in the first place. If you have certain values, then logic, like the logic to achieve one goal is going to be different from the logic to achieve another goal. So before you can talk about what is, quote, logical, you have to agree on the end goal first. If you don't agree on the end goal, logic is going to dictate two different things.
I'm asking, is that moral to kill that guy?
I would say that I would say that it's not. I wouldn't say it's moral, and I wouldn't say it's immoral. I would say no, actually, I take that back. I would say that the moral thing to do would be to kill him. Yep. You can't just let everyone die.
Right.
Okay.
So to kill that guy.
Hey, whatever works. I mean, it's the same thing of one life for many, right? So for some reason in that scenario, y'all get it. Fine, I'll take it. Okay.
Yeah, you're saying.
Look, if you it's a much better. Bronzee's example is much better, because in Bronzee's example, the risk is very clear, whereas like taking people's organs out, it's not very clear.
Concept is the same. One life.
All right. So let's go.
In your example, that concept doesn't even apply, because you were just murdering an innocent person, and I don't see how that becomes logical.
What I'm saying is,
Alvin, do you like your example? Is it good?
It's fine.
He's still putting people's life in danger.
And what have we proven with that example of Bronzee's? Anything?
That one life for many is logical. I gave an example of one life.
One life for many is only logical if you have those specific goals. If you have different goals, then it wouldn't be logical.
Look, the goal is one life for many. Do you want more people alive?
You're saying what the goal is. You're dictating what the goal is. But that's not. But not everybody would agree with that.
The goal is not even logical in the example that you're giving. That's the problem. And you don't see that it's not logical. For some reason, you fail to see that it's illogical.
Listen, your premise is the same. Kill this guy to save these people. My premise was kill this guy to save these people. It's the same thing. It's just it's a virus instead of hey killing this person to save 20.
You
It's
are
the exact same thing.
No, because she was
circumstances make for a different consideration.
who by himself is innocent and hasn't done anything to.
No, the whole human race is not the same as 4 people.
But it's still one life for many. You're just saying, well, hey, if it's the whole human race, then
circumstances are what make the difference.
What I'm saying is the premise itself is the same.
In Bronzee's example, you're not violating autonomy because the guy's going to die anyway.
I can even put
in Bronzee's example, the guy's going to die anyway, and it's going to kill everyone. So you're not violating. You're not violating the person's autonomy because they're pretty much already dead. Whereas in your example, Alvin, the guy's going to live on. So you are violating their autonomy.
You are not. Your example wasn't logical in itself. It wasn't making it clear.
It's the same thing of the premise.
Live in Australia. Leave it at that.
It's kill one, save many. That's the premise. It's the same premise.
Think about it like this, Alvin.
Alvin, you are just being egotistical here. You know
it's kill one to save many.
Alvin, Alvin, let me tell you.
I get it. If y'all take that,
Alvin, listen. If the doctor's objective, if the doctor has one objective and it's to save the most lives, and that's his only objective, and he has no other objective that comes before that, if that is the core objective and the only one, then that says something about the doctor's values and his goals, right? That means he's starting with certain values and goals. And logically, to achieve those goals, yeah, you would kill the guy and save the 4 people. But if you have different values and goals that value autonomy, that don't have just that one objective, if you have multiple objectives, if you have other values, then logically to achieve those goals, you wouldn't kill the guy. You'd let the 4 people die. So,
because, whenever, Alvin, you will give that example, people are met with an illogical thing, which is like, how do they logically, justify that it's okay it doesn't add up to whatever you're saying, it doesn't make sense.
Look, I'll put it like this. You said kill one to save many. I said kill one to save many.
Again, how do you not see the difference?
It's the same one.
Yeah, throw away all the nuance.
It's the same
Just
thing.
Throw out the nuance.
That's the premise. The premise is the same. That's my premise.
That is the only way that you can try to make a point is by dropping parts of the argument. Like you're moving the goalposts basically.
The premise remains the same. Sometimes killing one to save many may not be the most moral thing to do, but it's the logical. That's what I've been saying. But hey, if y'all
it's only you cannot say that it's not moral and logical. That doesn't make sense. If your morals tell you not to do something, logically, the thing to do would be to not do it.
I'll put it like this.
That doesn't make sense.
Look, if y'all
doesn't make sense. More. In my situation, though, the example that I gave, moral is where people would disagree, but people will get logic. But in your situation, the morals are
you're just so wrapped up in your religious views that you're so wrapped up in your religious views that you have to try to find a way to make logic conflict with morality. That's all you're doing is.
What did I say about my religion? Like I didn't say.
I have to agree with Outbound on that.
Alvin, you know what you don't.
What did I say about my religion?
You don't have.
No, but that's what you're doing, though. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to discredit logic.
No, I'm not. Like, please. How about deal with?
Yeah, you want to hold morality above logic, and they go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. It's like Nard was saying. Like all our moral compasses are built on logic, and it's also built on our biology and the fact that we're empathetic. Like you can't disconnect the two.
I'm a beg of y'all. I beg y'all. Could y'all go by what I say and not what you think I'm implying?
Okay. Are we talking about relative moralism? How does that go? Relative moralism?
Yeah, we're talking a little bit about that. We're not talking about justifying religion.
So that's really all you're talking about. And that's a very humanistic approach to things. Relative moralism. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
So really, what's your point? I mean, is there a point to this?
So the only point I was saying is that sometimes the most
moral is not always logical.
Yeah. So, like I said, sometimes
but that's false. That's incorrect.
So sometimes
if you have a morality to start with, that assumes goals, and logically to get to those goals, you'd have to follow a certain set of steps. You can't say what's logical is not always moral. That is incorrect.
Sometimes.
Whatever your goals are, whatever your morals are that you start with, there's a logical process you can follow to reach those goals, whatever they are. Now, if some other person disagrees with those goals and those values, then logic would dictate that they would follow a different set of steps.
I get your.
They're not in logic and morals are not in conflict with each other. You cannot separate the two. You can't have one without the other. They come together automatically.
Okay, I see where the disconnect is happening. Okay, so I get your point about the goals, right? Okay, so if your objective is to cheat on your wife with as many women as possible, right? You'll fulfill that objective. That might not be the moral thing to do, but that's the objective.
I mean, there's a logical set of steps you can take to reach that goal, or there's illogical steps you can take that wouldn't reach that goal.
So I get that point. I get the goals thing, right?
You know what? Normally, when people are cheating, it's not their goal to cheat on as many women on their wife. The goal is to be happy. Actually,
even trying to agree is hard.
Yeah, and they try to achieve that with that. It's just like when you give examples, it stands out that it's not making sense.
Look, if y'all kind of get it, then I guess I'm good. I'm going to this conversation. Man.
Being that you are a theist, I guess we're assuming you're trying to discredit logic.
No.
Yeah, you are trying to discredit.
So then if you're not trying to do that, you're trying to say that things aren't as easily remedied as we would like them to be.
Yeah, and
that's ultimately what the point is.
I mean, we could all agree with that. So where were we going with this?
When you try to actually argue for slavery, it's even worse than that one.
We can. Yeah, I can agree that it's definitely.
Even worse.
It's definitely muddy waters to walk into because those scenarios that were brought have we don't ever have just one objective or one value or one goal. There's always multiple goals, and sometimes they conflict with each other. So it does get kind of hard to talk about. It does get kind of messy, especially when you throw in the fact that you have different perspectives with different, then you have multiple people who have contrasting goals. It gets even worse. So yeah, there is a whole lot there to unpack, but you can't say that logic is in contrast with morality. If you can identify a clear morality and a clear goal, then logic will bring you there.
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
That's where you would derive your logic from.
I didn't say what I said is sometimes you can run into these situations where you might have to pick between the two.
But that would also always be moral.
Conflict.
No, it's not picking between the two.
That is moral to, when people try to
pick between the
do
two.
something for the greater good,
if you think something is moral, then it's logical to do it. So it's not picking between the two. Whatever you think is moral, then that thing is logically going to be the thing that you're supposed to do. There's no picking between the two.
So look at what it says about logic.
Okay, do y'all watch Star Trek? Y'all this is Spock. And we're talking about the Spock dilemma, where everything is logical. He's like, this is logical. But then it's like, humans don't think that way. We think with more things than just logic. That's what Captain Kirk kept having to say. We're dealing with.
That's just a difference in morals, though. That's because Spock's morality was different than Captain Kirk's.
It was pure logic. They didn't have.
You can't have none. You can't.
Talking about
Alvin, what from Bible are you trying to prove to yourself or us? Where did this come from? Which story from the Bible this come from?
Nobody's talking about the Bible.
Yeah, but I know it comes from there. Like,
No, it doesn't. We're
there
not
was a
talking about.
reason you were arguing for slavery, and there's a reason you're trying
We're
to
not.
argue.
We're not. No, none of this has to do. We were talking about
Okay,
moral relativism. Well, at least I was trying to talk about moral relativism, right? And all I said was sometimes the moral thing to do may not be the most logical. This has nothing to do with the Bible. Please go by what I say and not what you think I'm implying, because
okay.
Either way, it's still incorrect.
it just drives me nuts when people do that. Well,
the difference between Spock and Captain Kirk is that Captain Kirk is human. He has emotions that
Spock was a Vulcan
Spock doesn't have.
Yeah,
his emotions and the empathy that Kirk has. Another thing too is like that's not in that show. It wasn't always a contrast between logic and morality. It was a contrast between like logic and Captain Kirk's propensity to take large risks in order to gain big payoffs, and Spock's propensity to go, no, let's go with the one that we can logically conclude has the least amount of risk.
No, but he said love wasn't logical.
It was logical and moral to kill Daenerys. I mean, I don't think it was. They could have just killed her dragons, but
Listen, it's like with Spock. He said love was illogical. Like Captain Kirk had to teach Leo, this is love. It's like, yeah, but it's illogical. And then his father finally had to come out and said, hey, listen, I actually really loved your mom, right? Like you had to explain that to him. Like, so it's like, look, that's all I was. It's just the dilemma between logic and.
Depends on what love is illogical. It like that's again, you're talking about a contrast of goals. Like if I have goals where, my feelings for a person might make me do something that somebody else who doesn't have those feelings wouldn't do. You're talking about a contrast between what I value and what my goals are, and what that person's values and what their goals are. That's
yeah.
It's not a contrast.
I think okay. So I think
it's not logical to Spock to do it because he doesn't value that. But it is logical for Captain Kirk to do it because he values something different.
So I think it's like a three-dimensional conversation we're having. I get what you're saying because everybody's moral compass is different. So I mean, it's like we're talking about four different things at one time. So.
The reason Star Trek doesn't talk about it in these terms is because Star Trek is a television show and they're trying to create conflict and drama, and they're trying to set up a stark contrast. We need two characters who look at things very different and there's a conflict there, and then it gets resolved. Like that's just an effort to make things entertaining. It doesn't necessarily stay accurate to definitions and philosophical or logical absolutes and the process of that you would follow using logic. It's not really sticking to that. There's nothing illogical about what Captain Kirk does when you take into account what his goals are and what his values are. So like to Spock, it's illogical. That he says that's illogical because it's illogical to him. To Captain Kirk, it's not illogical.
Right, and they are presenting that in the show. They're not failing to do that.
And I mean, in some instances they do, like, because Captain Kirk will say things like, "Oh, like logic's not the only thing that matters," and and he's kind of missing the fact that really there is a logic to what he's doing too. It just has a different end goal. Spock is trying to minimize risk. Captain Kirk wants to save the whole crew and give fuck risk.
Okay, Alvin, but let me put a real life scenario there to what you're saying. So let's say Donald Trump is correct that we cannot let all these immigrants in, but they are coming and no country is stopping them. Let's say Mexico lets them through their border and now they're at our border. Does it become logical and or moral to you to actually like deploy tanks there and start firing?
So
what your end goal is here?
Okay, say that again. So if Donald Trump is correct, is that what you said?
Well, I'm saying if Donald Trump is correct that we cannot let all these people in and they're still coming through the border and they have actually the right to apply asylum and all that, but he said no. Okay, and we want to stop them, and they are not stopping. Mexico is letting them in, and and now they're at our border. And is that correct to actually start shooting them at the border, or
We have laws in place that govern our actions when people cross illegally. However, if it gets to the point of an actual invasion, you might have to recharacterize what's going on, call it an invasion, and blow them the fuck up.
Thomas, though, but what they were doing was not illegal according to United States law. They can legally apply asylum at the port of entry, what they were doing. But Donald Trump says we cannot let all these people in because there are too many, right?
Right.
Give him that. But now we want to stop them. Alvin, now my question is it okay if these people are not stopping and Donald Trump wants them stopped?
If they're at a legal port of entry and they're not getting in, what's the problem?
Well, what's happening, Art, is that Trump has given border control agents.
I just want to hear Bronzee answer that. If they're at legal port of entry and they're not getting in,
that's not the point. I'm asking him another question.
You said they're at a legal port of entry.
Yeah, they are.
Now, they're not going to come in unless we allow them in at a legal port of entry.
Instead of having
at the port of entry, but again, we can argue about that later. I want to ask Alvin if it ever becomes okay to shoot them.
Immigration was overloaded by the requests, and instead of expanding immigration, Trump just gave the border patrol agents the authority to make those decisions instead, and the rate of decline from the border patrol agents is much higher than it was with the immigration system. So the problem is that people are saying that those border control agents aren't qualified to make these decisions, and that they have a prejudice because of the position that they hold.
Okay.
They're biased.
To shoot the immigrants. Does that become, if they are crossing illegally, does that become okay to shoot them when they're crossing?
There are laws in place that deal with illegal entry, and they do not include shooting them. But if it gets to a volume where you can recharacterize it as an invasion, I think all bets are off.
Just start popping away. Pull out the fucking Gatling gun.
There's got 500,000 people come storming in.
I was gonna say, Nard's got a point. I was gonna say 4 million. If you got 4 million that are coming in one day, that's a problem.
Believe me, there's a number they have picked out already. They've already figured out
right. You're probably right. They probably have identified a number where they would start shooting.
Hey, they can't wait to see that next head come up over our horizon.
There's no way they can just start shooting people.
I gotta wait till everybody stops talking. I'm done talking over people.
Why? Because you're eating so big.
Alvin, you want to say something? Go ahead, buddy. What do you got?
Okay, so as much as this pains me to say, I'm going to have to agree with Outbound to a degree with this one point. So if his goal is to shoot up as many Mexicans at the border as possible, then okay, if that's what his goal in his head is, then the logical thing to do would just shoot them all. But if you ask me personally, I would think it's immoral to do that. So I think that's why I kind of been quiet, because it's there's 3 dimensions to this argument now. It's you have the goal element, then you got the morality element, then you got the morality versus the logic element. It's just it's 50 different things going on right now.
It depends on how you characterize what's going on. If it's just a couple of people illegally crossing, if it's a bunch of people, we have laws and to govern our actions. All I'm saying is if it gets to be big enough where you could recharacterize it, now you might have a problem. I mean, what's the confusion here? I don't get it.
It's 5 different conversations.
And why are you making it a confusion? It's pretty clear to everybody else.
I mean, I answered your question.
Very clear opinion.
I answered your question. I said if his goals are to kill as many Mexicans at the border as possible, then okay, that's the logical thing to do is send tanks.
The goal is to keep the goal is to keep from being invaded.
Now that's a
not to kill. It's not to kill as many people as possible.
See, that's why.
How many people have to cross the border at one time in order to facilitate the collapse of the United States?
So there's like 5 different arguments going on. So we're talking about.
That question. Nobody said that was his goal to kill as many Mexicans as he wants. He could care less about killing. He couldn't care less about that.
Okay.
What he cares about is having as fewer people cross the border as possible. Why did you totally mischaracterize the whole situation?
Well, it's hard to understand what the situation is when it's like 5 people talking, giving
everybody else
situations.
Understands it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so look. So if they're already at the border and they've stopped them from coming in, it then goes back to what Thomas was saying is, why would you need to bring tanks over there anyway if the situation was resolved? Now, again, if it's allowed 4 million people crossing the border, it is an invasion, and then you have to bring tanks. I mean,
it's all a matter of perspective.
It's pretty clear, Alvin, that you are illogical.
I'm burnt out. That's what I am. This whole thing is I'm burnt out. I don't have any more fire. My fire has dwindled from this. How about them Raptors, though?
Can we let the 3 Mexicans in?
What do you say? What kind of Mexicans?
Can we let the pretty Mexicans in?
Yes, we can do that. I co-sign that. Allow all of the pretty Mexicans in. They don't even need a green card, you know.
So you can better understand probably this whole thing if you replace logical with reasonable, because like it's the same thing.
Interesting. Oh man, my brain's on a blender right now. How y'all like them Raptors though? The champions. Oh yeah, y'all don't really watch sports. I don't think anybody on here. Nobody watch sports on here?
Well, I mean, the title that I shared in the back chat, I think you would love it, Alvin, because it has a bunch of scenarios, and the person who wrote it is a mathematician, so you know all the arguments are dissected logically and then reconstructed to show like what the actual meaning is, you know, people are trying to convey. You can try reading that.
I'll check it out. You talking about the art of logic?
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, who's the person who's been leaking your address all over the chats?
What is that? I don't even know what that is. Somebody been leaking my address all on the chats?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was happening.
Alvin, I got a question for you, Alvin. Did morality exist before humanity got